Hey there, Andy Ron here with Montana Land Source. This is the video summary of the weekly land report for August 31st, 2022. We put out a report every week summarizing changes in the Montana land market, and you can subscribe to that at mtlandsource.com. News this week in the Montana land market: the USDA released their annual survey of land values, and this information you can find on the land report and on mtlandsource.com. I chart those annual survey results going back to the early 2000s. So it's interesting to look at that graph and look at that data. Now, this data is survey data. The USDA surveys landowners and land managers. It's ag focused, so the per acre land values are more reflective of ag lands and not all the recreational lands in Montana. But nonetheless, it's interesting data. It does tend to lag the actual market. If you look at that data, it shows very little change up until 2022. So it doesn't show much change in 2020, 2021, which doesn't correspond with the data we have and what we track. But what it does show is a significant spike in 2022. You look at that table and you see that giant leap of perceived land values in 2022. So it's just kind of interesting that lags the market a little bit, but I guess you could say catches up in spades. What will be really interesting is the data next year, because we're already entering a cooling period. Unknown what the next year will show, but it'll be very interesting to see what that data shows next year. And if you look closely at Montana Land Source land data, as I mentioned earlier, we have live market stats. I actually show a decrease in average per acre values in 2022 over 2021. I haven't talked a lot about that data because I think it's complicated. A lot of other brokers and appraisers and whatnot show that land values are up in 2022 over 2021, and I think it's safe to say that's the general consensus. But I think what my data shows, regular viewers of this video will know that 2021 was a huge year in the Montana land market, and it actually cleaned up a lot of inventory. Basically, pre-2020, we had a lot of built-up inventory. There were many properties that had been on the market for years. We had what I would call an overpricing problem, so a lot of properties on the market were overpriced. But basically, 2021 cleaned all that out. So I think a higher number of properties, of high-priced properties, were sold in 2021. So I hope that distinction can be made, that on average, more was paid for properties in 2021 because so much was cleaned up. A lot of high-priced properties, a lot of properties that, again, were on the market for years, kind of languishing at a said price, were taken off the market, were purchased in 2021. And I think that skewed the data a little bit. When you look at other sources of data like resale data, so properties that sold a year or two ago and are selling again, those price indications are up. So it's hard to say that land values are down in 2022. I just think we had an extraordinary year in 2021, and I think that what's difficult in talking about prices currently in 2022 is that for certain types of property, values are up. So basically, the higher quality properties, and any broker will tell you this right now, because demand still is high. Even though demand has moderated a little bit, not quite as fevered and whatnot as 2021, nonetheless, there's still demand for land in Montana, but really demand is highest for the highest quality properties. And the lower quality properties are not selling like the higher quality ones. Most brokers will talk about this inventory issue in terms of just not the right kinds of properties. In some ways, the best has been taken off the market, or you could say the best continues to be taken off the market, while the second best or lower tiered stuff does not. So as far as numbers for this actual week, the past week, relatively quiet in the Montana land market, only 20 property updates. 3 of those are properties back on the market, 5 new listings, 4 pending sales, 6 price changes, and 2 sales. So we're continuing to see a higher than normal amount of price changes, again, just reacting to the market, sellers lowering their price to get those properties sold. We are seeing somewhat of a steady drum beat of new properties coming on the market, but it's not enough to change the overall inventory environment that we are looking at. So those are the market stats for the week. And in other news, I've mentioned before that I'm moving my office from the home office into a new project in downtown Billings that I'm very excited about. The Rock 31 building, which is the renovation of the old Montana National Bank, is having a grand opening on the 8th, I believe, of September. I hope I have that date right. I'm verifying that right now. Yeah, September 8th at 4 p.m. will be a grand opening in that building, and I'll be there with my office open as well. So I'd really love all of you who are in Billings or passing through to come by and see the new office. It's a great project. Besides just myself being in that building, it's an incubator space for entrepreneurship and startup development, and there's co-work space available there. So it's just a great incubator. I think a great thing for Billings and Montana and downtown Billings as far as entrepreneurship promotion. I'm excited to be in such a space with so much collaboration. I know some of the other guys that are taking office space, they're innovators and whatnot. So I think it's going to be a really exciting space. So that event is on mtlandsource.com. You can find out more about that. And then after that, once my office is there permanently, feel free to stop by and visit. It's going to be the most high-profile office space that I've ever had for Montana Land Source. So I'm excited about that. That is the update for this week. Thanks, everybody. Again, I appreciate all the well wishes and whatnot, and we will see you next week.